Sensei. We are missing a couple of boys over in Team 1, at least one body, but Chill Pills off the bat summon of the army of the undead versus Sensei, stunning him with the abomination, trying to see if he cracks those defenses further into a big old apocalypse, slamming down through the monk karma, maybe enough to redirect some damage back into Chill Pills, but he's able to mitigate a lot of it with that icebound fortitude and the anti-magic shell. Sensei trying to avoid this army of the undead, but he's unable to. The gargoyle got a pretty good spot, is able to blast him over shadow damage as the arbiter just escapes committing more punishment towards Sensei, but looks like for the most part almost survived the entire army of the dead. Able to rotate every single defensive, does have in the back pocket at least a dampen harm at the very least, and is maybe able to get a bit of sustained damage, but man, Chilpa's just walking up, slamming through the guy, just slashing right through it. The man just trying to hold on to their soul as they're going for vivifies behind the pillar. Get another buff up by the pet, gonna be more death ghosts flying in, grip right back in there. Unless Sensei got a board, it's gonna be difficult to escape. That chain of ice is gonna be brutal, not able to be booked out of the way with that ring of peace as the ghouls are falling apart all around Sensei little by little. Eventually those things do end up waning in life. As Chilpa's trying to get a blind on Sensei, does he get himself a big go? Massive apocalypse, is that an execute on top of it? Big fist of fury, oh, it does get the execute in there, the reaping, oh my god, if you can set up a reaping blind, hit that reap into a big apocalypse, keep him low, let the reap just extinguish the life of Chicago. Gonna be up next, hopefully Team 1 will get an extra body in here. As Shaman charging out, Death Knight does have IBF down for a little bit. AMS is available, so maybe we'll be able to use the AMS to get some survivability. Chicago is still playing into that elemental focus enhancement build. The enhancement that does prioritize the elements. Big damage on Chilpas, does get to avoid the knockback by Chicago, but still having to play it super slow, super safe. Burrow down by Chicago, trying to get over next to Chilpas, not really able to get the most amount of damage for him. And Chilpas looking for a bit of recovery, just going for those death strikes off of the earth elemental while keeping Chicago slowed behind the pillar. Light and Lasso right around the corner, able to do quite a bit of damage. Chilpas does have IBF coming back up very soon. Is gonna drop down the dome for just a second, trying to see if he can keep himself plenty safe. Might be one of the situations where he uses Death Pact. Does sacrifice the ghoul, summon up a new one. Maybe Death Pact situation does burn the AMS as well. And Chicago just needs to wait out for the AMS and get some kind of damage in. Big grippy hand by Chilpas. Maybe can capitalize some pressure onto Chicago. Get himself a gold joy and then throwing out frostbolts back to back towards Chicago. And that's going to be blind to follow. Maybe with an execute right after. Chicago does a wall for this one. Maybe this will still be enough to stun. Does get himself a shield with a spore cloak, looking for a little bit of recovery. Chicago does get himself not a lot of defense, but looks like he has been able to stabilize. Earth Shield is available. Plenty of Maelstrom. Lots of mana. Can keep himself alive with plenty of healing. Shield is not looking all that good right now. Lichborn, those death coils do more damage, but also more healing. Able to recover massive apocalypse onto Chicago. Is that an execute on top of it? Do they have an execute? This is where you would want a Big Reaper. Not enough to kill Chicago just yet. Needs to get another Soul Reaper as soon as possible. While you keep a Soul Reaper on the Shaman, as long as their health stays low, they could go down any moment. Death goes, oh, it does go for the Soul Reaper. My god, the explosion of the Reaper is so good. The runes flying in all directions. The person goes down to the count. It is so great. Exit spam gonna be up next. Chain of Ice immediately hits him. And that's where Chilpa's gonna have to use a lot of Chain of Ice to keep the X spam away from him. Death Pact is getting used early. Cannot really heal for this Death Pact. Just needs to wait out for the necrotic effects to fall off. Stun on Chills, does have a trinket, blind to fall onto Exy. Goes in for a trinket himself. Chilpas just needs to wait this out a little bit longer. Stun onto Exy, trying to play this game out as best as possible. Needs recovery. Exy spam, trying to stay on top of the Death Knight. Does get himself a charge around the corner. AMS up for Chilpas. Don't really know what much he could really do in this situation. Needs death strikes, needs survivability, but I think at this point it's just over unless you can maybe somehow turn it around. X-Spam does go for a defensive stance at the end. Man, that was so close. I don't really know what Chilpas could have done in that situation. But like Messiah, not gonna let X-Spam out of this situation. Try to go back behind the pillar, maybe get back in the room, really get himself some second wind healing. He's having to burn his big defenses as the blessing of protection comes out for Light Messiah, unless he can somehow get himself out of this situation. Somehow still alive even though through blessing of protection. Wait a second, maybe if you get himself a big heal, maybe he can make someone work here. Oh no, it's just over. That is rough. Is it gonna be Kevin next, or is it gonna be Tier? Looks like Kevin was able to finally load in. He's throwing a Judgments on Tier in case it's him. No, it's actually going to be Kevin instead. As Kevin having to come back is going to go for a massive Spell Warden off the bat. That's where you want to maximize the damage with Light Messiah. The most damage you can do, I would say just go for Crusade, maximize, ramp up, and take that ramp momentum into the next competitor. The stun onto Kevin has a trigger for this, so no more big immunity. Light Messiah still has a bubble he could use at some point though. Maybe he could use it. Lay on hands instead. That might have been maybe a misplay. If Kevin could slam him down before Light Messiah can get bubble back up, then that Lay on Hands was definitely the misplay. If Light Messiah still gets to use Lay on Hands and the bubble later down the line, then that was the right play. Super low. He needs to keep himself alive. Got himself waste, keeping himself barely afloat. Oh, and that's going to be the big slammer by Kevin. That might have been a situation where you just bubble, pop code into Kevin, and slam him with everything you got. CS is going to be last one left, but a bubble immediately hits him as soon as he walks up next to Kevin. Full cooldowns, but it's getting countered by the Blessing of Protection as Kevin got himself a stun onto CS, forcing a trick out of the guy really early on though. CS still has a lot of damage, lots of pressure, actually quite a few big hits onto Kevin. The man may just be going down for the count. Is that going to be the execute? The Warrior got, oh my god, so much consistent pressure versus a Paladino. Tier is the last one left over for the team one. He's got to play it super well. He's got to try to find a way to fight through CS. He's got Diabolicals to get through as well as easier flex. If he can play it super careful versus CS, he might be alright. For CS though, he's got to get stun on the rogues and then punish him every single time you get a chance. Anytime you get a stun on him, you got to get some damage into the guy. Start forcing defense out of him. Big stun, CS, not a lot of health available. Doesn't really have much in terms of defense. Blind immediately by the rogue. It is a cooldown. You do want to get those out of the rogue whenever possible. It is going to get a vanish out of the rogue as well. I don't really know if you necessarily needed to go for a vanish, but that piercing howl from the warrior does end up slowing the rogue as he's trying to run behind the tombstone. He doesn't have the mobility to really get behind it. Has to burn a vanish either way though, just to get himself an invis. CS able to recover a lot of health. So every time the rogue goes for an opener, unless he goes and puts some blades on the CS, that's going to be a warrior that's going to be fully healthy every single opener. You reflect up immediately. Wait a second, the reflect might be good against Secret Technique if that's what you do. No, Secret Technique, if anything, that may have been delayed. Eviscerates though, you are reducing some of the damage of Eviscerates because they will do shadow damage if you're attacking an enemy with the Find Weakness debuff to bypass their armor. This armor to Tier is going to try to see if he can get himself a re-stealth, but that Shadow Meld isn't going to do anything. Vanish should follow Cloak of Shadow, start to move the dots, is able to finally get himself into re-stealth. But is he in combat? Or is he out? Looks like he's out. CS actually picking up the eyes, leaping over to the rogue, stun right after, trying to go for as much damage as possible. He knows the rogue wants to go in for a kidney shot. Did end up coming out. He did come out of the defensive stance into the berserker stance. Evasion though down for the rogue. Live that go. Gouge onto the warrior for just a second. Stun. It's going to be super short. Does Tier have any outs whatsoever? I think it just might be done for the rogue. Cheat death last second. And I think it's just, oh my god, CS. Oh my goodness, he wasn't gonna let this rogue escape his wrath at all. Chill Pills getting those big Reaper executes, as well as CS taking out the rogues at the very end. One rogue? Was it two? A paladin and then a rogue, I think it was the end, wasn't it? Well done, well done. Let's get us another one going, boys, yeah?